Hi guys, Squad here. Welcome to another episode of Realistic Playthrough on Derail Valley. And in this episode, well, the last episode, if you remember, we arrived here, which is the goods factory. So we're up there at the goods factory. And I've just reversed the trains into the service bay because, well, our main locomotive, this one here, is on just over half a tank, which is not ideal, is it? So I thought, you know what, let's just bring it round. We'll throw some fuel in there, just put it into that one. Just get everything nicely topped up, so we'll do just down the line. Bit of oil, bit of sand. A chunk of diesel, and then we'll flip to the other locomotive and do the same thing. So yeah, not a lot, just mostly oil and diesel, as you would expect, because I haven't damaged anything, which is good. And that's a grand total of 11 grand. There we go. So that's basically that done. So what we'll do now is we'll jump over to the service station, the actual station, and see if we've got any jobs. Okay, it's now 5 o'clock in the evening, and let's see, we've got 3 shunting jobs. That's basically unloading stuff we brought in, and that's not bad, but it goes down to the harbour, 2 down to steel mill, and 1 over to the sawmill. That's not ideal. I think what we'll do is we'll take a little drive around to Oilwell North and see what we've got going down here. Now, sometimes they'll have jobs to the refinery, food factory, harbour, some other places. Let's drive around here, see if we've got anything more entertaining to take than that. I'm kind of want to explore some of the other map now, and I'm conscious that we need to get a DE6 up and running at some point, so I need a license for that. We've got 340k. We've had an awful lot of expense recently, and a DE6 is what, 200 grand, is it? Where is it? There it is, 200 grand just for that. So that's a big chunk of our wallet right there. Hazmat 3 would blow our budget completely. And it would be kind of nice to get into military stuff, but as I've said before, this is a bit of an all-or-nothing military. Very little point getting into these. You may as well just go straight for the whole thing. So that's more endgame territory. Next goal would be D6 and a Hazmat 3. They're my 2 immediate targets. But I do want to take more interesting jobs and longer jobs. So let's drive around to the Orwell North and see what they've got. And I just remembered something as I was about to leave. One of the reasons we came here to the goods factory was I was going to buy some stuff. Don't know if you remember or not, but there's a couple of things that this place sells that I want. There's one of them. Let's grab that. The clinometer, which shows you the current gradient that the train is sat on, which is very useful. I don't think I need any of those. Button controllers. If we had some more... Oh, and the digital clock, that was it. I was going to get the digital clock so we know what time it is. Now, if they happen to sell... Speedo... Do they sell the analog buttons here? I can't remember. Analog controller, there we go. We'll just pick up a couple of them just to replace the ones that we've used already. What's that come to? 11 grand? How many times have you been to the hardware store and it's cost you 11 grand? There we go. Ridiculous. Right, yeah, we'll carry on. Get back down to the Orwell North and see what they've got. Right, see where they are. It's Orwell North. So Orwell North is basically a loop. I came in this way, went through Sea Yard, looped around there, and we're about here now. The station is just over here, and there is in fact a service yard. Oh, let me just turn the engine off because I don't know if we'll be heading straight out or not. There's the service yard, and there's a little D2 line around, and the station green light is just over there, so I think we can possibly nip through. There we go. Jump over the pipes, better parkour. Now let's see what they've got here. The pump jacks are flowing. I don't see anything outside. I can't remember if this is a spawn point for engines or not, but museum engines, that is. But I didn't see anything briefly. So we are here at Orwell North, and it looks like we've got a load and prepare a train down to the oil refinery. So are there any more oil refineries? Nope. We've got a shunting job to unload. We've got a goods factory run of methane, which is a Hazmat 2 fragile. If I remember, we've got Hazmat 2. Yep. We have a Hazmat 2 license. Excuse me, I was about to cough. We have a Hazmat 2 license, so that's good. We could do that one. What other can we do? We've got a Hazmat 1 going down to the harbour. That's quite a nice paying job, that is. Blimey. Oh my word, look at that. Look at that. Oh. I really don't want to go back to the harbour, but dear God, there's 100 grand right there. 630 tons apiece. Blimey. That would really pay the bills. From the Orwell North, that would be a straight run through the steel mill. You could, in theory, go via the goods factory if you wanted to be slightly different about it. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do that, to go via goods, because goods factories are 30 kilometre turn through there. You back up here through a lot of winding stuff and then down through the valley, and then that's downhill to the harbour. It's doable. I mean, it would make it... It's definitely quicker that way, I will say that much. But that is arguably more interesting to drive. Tricky. But, you know, with that much weight, I mean, what's that, 1,206? Ooh, that's a lot. 2 DH4s would just about handle that. They could definitely get up that hill with a run up through the steel mill. I'm sorry to say that I was going to do something different, but the 100 grand stared at me and said, you need 100 grand. With a bonus, that's 150. That, I reckon we can take that down to the harbour, and we'll be able to afford a D6 license, and we can't really knock that back. There is rain forecast, if I remember. Actually, what time? Yeah, 3 AM rain. What time is it now? Okay, I think we'll be up the hill by then. Right, these are located in B3 and B4. It doesn't matter what order we take them. One's going to go to G5I, one's going to go to C2I. So really it's a question of which is easier to drop off. If we have a quick look at the harbour, the G yard is actually here. So in theory, it's probably better, I think, to go into G and drop that off, pull forward, reverse back down the middle, and do C. I think it's better that way. So what we'll do is we'll pick the G one up last, if that makes sense. So we'll basically put this one next to locomotive, and then we'll put this one at the back of the train so that we drop it first. Yeah? That's what we'll do. So let's go and hook up and get out of here before that rain starts to come. It is going to be nighttime, but we do know the direction we're going, so we should be okay. The sun is setting. The light is starting to fade. All the lights are starting to come on. But I need the full brake for this, not the indie brake. There's a lot of weight here. There we go. Don't push back. There we go. Lovely. Let's get that hooked up. Okay, now typically the handbrake will be all the way down the bottom. Of course it will. Right, we've got some departure checks to do first. We need to look at the length and the weights of everything and get it all programmed in. However, I thought before we go and actually leave, we've got 2 bits of equipment that we need to fit. So I'm going to grab those out of the shed and get them installed. Hopefully before the sun sets completely. It will also be a really useful test today because it's going to be dark and nighttime. You know, we fitted those lovely dimmable front lights and also the night lighting inside the loco. Blimey, this is long as now. It'll be a good test because we're going to do our first nighttime drive with our fully kitted out DH4. So what I'll do is I'll stick the handbrake on, we'll turn the engine off, we'll go and get our soldering gun and put some lights on. Well, not lights. Digital clock and a inclinometer or clinometer. Right, I've got the bits. The clinometer itself isn't powered, but the digital clock is. Digital clock I'm probably going to stick along the top here, so if we grab that bracket maybe, and if we maybe, I don't know, let's try jumping on top of here if we can. It can be a bit awkward fitting these things, but there we go. I reckon, let's put it in the centre. We put it about here somewhere. It's obviously very difficult to try and get it completely centered. But I reckon somewhere around there should do it. all right, that'll do for that one. And then for this one, I am using the angled. There's like if I'm facing this way, I want it to be facing inwards. There's an angled, what do you call it, a bracket. That might be too far over. Let's double check that. Yeah, not enough space. So that's going to have to move slightly. There you go. So that would work quite nicely there, wouldn't it? But I have forgot my drill, so I'll go get my drill. And then we can actually mount these things. The clock itself will obviously go here. So if I get that, it will go something like... If I can get the right orientation. That, I think. I think that's right. That might be backwards, but it kind of looks right. Anyway, let me get my drill. There we go. I've drilled those into position. So what we need to do now is just put that up there for a second. I will need to put that solder onto the table. You can find it. There it is. Right. That, I think, will go in like that. Although I'm not sure if that's backwards. It's really hard to tell if that is on, but I think that's on backwards, isn't it? Let's have a look. Looks like the buttons need to be at the front, but flat against the surface. There's a lot of rotatable positions to put this in. That still doesn't seem right, does it? Let me put this down. So if I put it down like that, then it should... I can actually get a look at it. There you go. So it should look like that with those little buttons down there. You can barely see them. But that's what it should look like. But it doesn't seem to want to go on that way. It seems to want to go on... Come on, game. Let me on. There we go. So the buttons are at the back. It doesn't want to face forward for some reason. That's facing upwards, which is no good to anybody. Oh, was that it there? There we go. Finally. All right. That was harder than it should have been. So we'll just get our soldering gun. Load that in. And as soon as you do this, it'll hardwire it into the mains. And then the current time should appear. Hey, look at that. Thankfully, the clinometer is much easier. There you go. It's done. And you can see already it's starting to show a very slight negative gradient. So you've got numbers -1, 2, 3 down the left side. So that will start to come... Well, this will start to move over. So that black line is the reading. And then positive gradient is this way. That's the way that we're facing, basically. So that's that done. Run down to the harbour. Let's just do our... departure checks here. We're going to come out of Orwell North. We're going to head left. We're going to go straight down the hill where we're going to keep to the right. Up to the steel mill. We're going to go left after the steel mill. Left again. Left again. Keep left through there. Right through there. Left into the harbour. So the only things to check now are the steel mill to make sure that it's on... set for a straight through run, so we're going to keep right. We're going to come in from the north. We're going to keep right into the B yard, and then we're going to go right, and then left, right, left through there. So we should be able to take a massive run up at that. Then finally, down at the harbour, I think we said we're going to the G yard first, so we're going to go left, and then left again. We're going to keep left here. We're then going to go right down this way, left into G yard. And because it's an input line, it will be a straight-in approach. I think it was 5i, so we'll go right, right, and then left into G yard. The only other drop after that will be the C yard. Let me just quickly look at what that was. G5i, C2i. So reversing down into C2i will be a right and then a left. That's it. We are all checked up here. So we'll start the diesel engines, both of them. We'll just make sure we put the brakes onto full for a second. Take that handbrake off now. So the reason we leave the handbrake on is just to make sure that our master cylinder and brake cylinders don't deplete while the engine's off, because it will start to roll down that hill. But now the engine's running, it's not a problem. We start up the second engine as well. That is idling nicely. Yeah, right, let's go and hand the job in, and we are out of here. job number 1 and job number 2. Let's get that into forward. Let's get the brake started to release. Now, this is a long train, so it does take more time to release the brakes. You could hear it. The air pressure runs all the way down the length of that train, so it's quite a bit. I've done the calculations for the weight and length. So, basically, the two consists are 630 tons each. Let me just crouch back up. Get us moving. The two consists are 630 tons each. The DH4 weighs, I think it's about 13 tons. So that's 26 for a combined total of 1,410. That's a lot of tonnage. The actual length, 432 meters of the two trains, two consists, 203 meters each, and 13 meters per car gives us a grand total of 432. 400, 1, 2, 3, that's 30. That should do us. So that's set correctly for the length of the train. We know what the weight is, and we know where we're going. We've set all the points on the way from the Orwell North to take us through here, up this way, and down that way, the standard direction into the harbour. What we can now do is play around with the... Look at that. So normally, this is what you'd have. You'd have a side light, normal light, and the maximum lightage you can get is this. Now, when it goes completely dark outside, that is... It's like having a flashlight, isn't it? And you can't... Like, all of this will be black later. But with this thing, we can just basically bring that up, and the visibility... Like, look at the angle of that. I reckon that's, what, probably 35, 40 degrees? Cracking view now. And then in terms of the night time inside, the night vision as I like to call it, you know, normally you'd have this kind of option, which is not great. Now you can just bring it up just a little bit, just so you can see what you're doing. You turn it all the way up, but I wouldn't recommend that. Just a little bit of reflection off there, which is a bit unfortunate, but that is the paint thing. You know, if we chose a different paint, it wouldn't reflect as much, but then it wouldn't light up as nicely as it does. Your alternative is to not have that light or move it further back or something if you don't like that reflection. So it's easy to do. You just knock it off with a hammer, move the bracket, fill the holes, rewire it all back in. It's all good. Anyway, we are on our way. Hopefully not too eventful. I'm expecting a fairly straight run as we get out of the harbour here. So we're doing 80 out of there. So we're now at the triangle for the goods factory, so we're just coming through here. We can basically pick up speed from here on in, so we're facing a climb. Let's just get our speed right up. We do have our overheat protection built in, so we don't even need to worry about that anymore. We can just floor it and let the electronics work it out, which is quite nice. Straight through the steel mill doesn't really have a limit. As long as you've set the point straight, straight through the steel mill will be absolutely fine. And including this bit, this bracket here. So all the way through there, we can just go maximum speed through this bit and just roll straight up this hill. And then we're more or less into a downhill run. We just got to manage our speed again. So yeah, it's backing off the temperature. I'm not expecting any problems unless it rains. We're no due rain at 3 AM. Let me just back it off so it stops whining. We're no due rain at 3 AM, but frankly, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Now we've got the clock. We can actually see what time it is. So you can see it's struggling to pick up the speed at the moment, even on a flat bit. Let's back it off another notch. Even on a flat bit, we're struggling to get that speed. And we want as much speed as we can get, really. Get all that momentum going. Right, we've got a 60 speed limit coming up, and I've been hammering it up here, so we better just back off the throttle. There's a 60 limit, but there is an incline, so we're going to bleed some speed off here. There you go, so here's the limit here, 60. This is coming into the steel mill, so what I want to do now is start that and maintain 60, because the whole back of the train's still on that hill. So we're just going to power our way through here while keeping our eye Although it says 50 here, you can ignore it, because if you're going straight on, there's not a 50 limit. Yeah, those switches look set correctly. We're going to keep our speed up as much as we can. We want all the momentum. And the back of the train has just gone through that limit, so we're good to floor it again. So yeah, if you have a look at this, it looks pretty cool at night. Look at all those lights as well. Look at that. It's just so good with all these lights on it. Okay, right, here we go. So we're going to have to just back the throttle off, stop the overheat. Left switch is correct. Shouldn't have a problem through here. It's fairly flat. And then we've got the incline. Now we are hauling a lot of weight. And what would be interesting to hear is we can really get a feel for this incline now. We can just see what it's like. Because remember, the DH4 is rated at 600 tons up a 2% incline in the dry. But quite often these slopes will be more than 2% in various places. And it's that can really catch you out, particularly when you're hauling so much weight as this. It reckons 1.8, so let's see what happens. Boom, look at that. Went straight to 2.2. It's still on about 2. Now it's dropped back again. So, although it says 1.8, it kind of bounces in and out at 2, doesn't it? Coming back to 1.3, that momentum's really helped us here. Both these locomotives are really starting to struggle a bit now. There we go, back to 1, so we're well within tolerance. So yeah, that run-up makes a huge difference. If you're picking things up at the steel mill, you quite often have to sort of roll back a bit, as we've done before, and just take a run-up at this hill. It's just the way it is, I'm afraid. And you come across various hills in the valley like that. You know, we've seen the harbour before. You have that limit around the bend and you've got to punch it to make it up that initial slope. There's a lot of hills going out this way and this way coming out of the harbour. These are quite twisty and hilly. Same thing happens up here. And there's a huge climbing turn here on that spiral when we do eventually go up to the military base and the iron mine east and the coal mine east. There's a lot of hills here. Very, very hilly stuff up there. But it's all, you know, well within the capabilities if you manage the momentum correctly. If you don't, you'll just get stuck. Okay, we're just coming down into the, well, just starting to turn at the valley now. This is our first kind of turn and drop, and you can see the turn here. I'm getting the dynamic brake on, but I just thought I'd show you what it's like without our new light system. And then with our new light system. It's just, honestly, it's a complete game changer. Just look at that. The situational awareness that you have with the new lights when you're driving at night is just massive. And it's just from having an extra 4 lights and just angling them out. The temptation is to angle them forward. I think if you angle them out, it just really helps. Most of your vision out the window now is very well lit. You know, you could point them in all directions. You can have some pointing outsiders if you really wanted to, you know. But I think that's really nice as it is. Anyway, I'm just managing our speed, our descent now into... I sound like I'm flying a plane, don't I? I'm managing our descent now as we approach the runway. No, but it's the same principle, isn't it? I'm just managing our momentum coming down this hill, using the dynamic brake, watching the gradient to make sure we don't bust any speed limits. So, yeah. All good so far. I haven't to use a better brake as we approach the drop left turn into the harbour now, because the dynamic brake just can't deal with it. There's a bit too much momentum on the back. So I'll just drop it down to... I've got one stage of braking. A lot of dynamic brake. We just got to keep your eye on the temperature down there. Doesn't the harbour look good at night? Look at that. Lovely. But yeah, as we make this turn, we'll very quickly build up momentum again. As we've seen a few times. Beautiful. Looks so good on a clear night. Okay, let's keep our eye on this now. So 1.7 gradient it says. I beg to differ. Look at that. I beg to differ. That is nearly 3%. That explains why when you're climbing out of here it's such a pain. Because you've got this climbing turn, you've got all the resistance of that track, and then you hit nearly 3% gradient just before it flattens out at the junction. Now this bit's 1.7, but back there is not. Yeah, we're looking good. One stage of brakes. Engine's warming up, that's fine. And we should be configured straight into G. The only thing I forgot to do in my haste was put a flag onto to separate the two jobs. Just quickly have a look at this. So we're looking at 12 cars, 14 cars going to get dropped, and 14 remain. So each row is 6 cars, so 2 6 is 12, plus 2 is 14. So I've got to work out 14 cars from the back. The important thing will be to find where the job number changes from FH53 to the other one. Right, let's take the brakes off now. And we'll back off the dynamic. Right, so I guess the best way is to put the back of the train here. Now, after my last video, the dev got in touch with me and said that the track limit does not start at the board sign. He said it's a common myth that it starts at the board sign, and he requested that I sort of pass on the information that where it actually starts is back at the junction brake, wherever the... So there, you see that little notch there? That piece of track is the start of that segment, if you like. And so it kind of starts there, wherever the junction brake is. Realistically, you probably want to have the back of the train here somewhere. The game will actually count it if the wheels are within this segment here. So there you go. We've all been educated by the dev. But I'm going to have the back of the train start here somewhere. Let's get some brake on here. Luckily, the train's not too long for the Wi-Fi signal, but it will take a little while to slow down. So the thing is, if you do have it past that board and coming this way, it could interfere with something that tries to come into this track here. So, you know, it's something to be aware of, that, you know, somewhere here is probably a good thing. Even though it stops there. But yeah, somewhere here would be where you'd want it. That there would be the brake on the segment. If it was down here somewhere, wherever there's a switch, like this one, it would be where the end of the switching gear ends. So this is the piece of track, and if you look for the brake, it would be that, I guess. So yeah, you can have the car wheels here, and it would still count. Okay, so this job here is FH53. We need to find the front of it. It's going to be 12 cars. If it had a flag, that would have really helped. But let's see. We'll take a wild guess. 53. Come forward a bit more. Still on 53. Oh, 57. 57. 53. There we go. So here's where we're going to break it. So we'll put the stopcocks in. Release, and not forget while we're pulling forward there. Get that car moving. Must put the handbrake on, otherwise it really won't count. So yeah, it looks like we had a bit more space on this one. So we'll just jump on the back here. The only thing we need to do now is reverse into the C yard. So to do that, we're in G. We're going to be reversing back this way, so we're going to need to take a left down into C yard. We could probably operate this with 2 locos, but I can't be bothered to run down the front there and sort it out, so we'll just run it with the 2 running. It's only a bit more diesel. We can afford it with a 100 grand job, can't we? Now, if it was up against the clock, we could, on the way past the station, we could actually run in and hand in that job that we just dropped off. But I don't think we're going to be that desperate for time here, so I think we'll be fine. Now, one thing about driving at night with the remote is you just cannot see the controls. Look at it. I really wish there was an option to buy like a helmet, like a head torch. Like I said, when you're flying, you know, you use a head torch. You use a red head torch at night to provide that red light that I've put in the locomotive. One of those would be really useful because you could just have it on your head. And I think it would even work in this game especially well with VR, because as you're moving your head around, that red light would move with you. You know, I can't really simulate it, but your head would be doing this, and the headlight would work really well in VR as well. But it would also mean it illuminates this at night. And, you know, the battery could run out on it, or maybe you buy batteries, I don't know. I just think it'd be a nice item to have in the game. Okay, I just thought I'd quickly remind myself that we're going into C2I and double check that the switches are set for C2I and everything appears to be correct. It looks like it's getting a bit misty this evening. Oh, this is going to be a payday, this is. And the funny thing is this will generate 2 jobs to unload this. And the unload jobs will probably be worth a bit of money as well. Because you're dealing with hazardous chemicals, and hazardous chemicals pay well, whether you're moving them or unloading them. The logistic job to take the cars back will not pay well because it doesn't need the Hazmat license. But just being able to move the stuff around requires the Hazmat license, and then it pays more money. So just bear that in mind, that there will be 2 jobs on the back of this that we can potentially do that will pay very handsomely. Right, I'm just going to put that on there. And we will disconnect this. Like so. And we'll turn this loco off. And we'll turn this loco off. And we'll kill the radiant sunlight for now, shall we? Right, let's go and hand those in. Because I reckon there's going to be a big payday, and then I reckon we'll see the jobs that it generates. Now, if I had to hazard a guess, if we got paid... How much do we get paid for this one? 50 grand? 50 grand. I reckon this will pay 20, 25 to shunt it. Maybe? We'll see. I am completely guessing, by the way. I reckon it'll be worth good money. Right, let's get that one in. Lovely, that's 73 Gs, thank you very much. And another 73 Gs, thank you very much. And that wallet is suddenly looking very nice indeed. Now, have a look. There you go. 33k, oh my god. 33k for one of them, and 48 for the other. And the reason is, that one requires the cars to go to 3 different places, whereas that one only goes to 2. So yeah, I think you'll find that pays extremely well. That's literally the same cost to do that as it was to haul it here. Amazing. But that's Derail Valley for you. Anyway, so what we're going to do is I am going to unload these 2. I'll get the money for them. Let's have a look at our fees. Oops, not that one. That one. 7,900. I might just pay and clear that because I can't be bothered to drag it round for a service. And then we get the DS6 license. Okay, I think we're going to call this episode here, guys, because I don't really want to do the shunting and have you watch that because that's a bit dull. But I am going to shunt this because that is worth good money. So on the next episode, you can expect my wallet to have jumped up another, what's that, 75k plus another 45k. And what we're going to do is we're going to get the D6 license and we're going to put that onto the DH4 and see if we can get some good jobs out of here. I may even dip into military or just go for Hazmat 3. I hope you enjoyed that haul, guys. I enjoyed that one. I thought it was a good haul. Really, really good haul. Good paying money, and it's got us into a good position. Anyway, take care, guys. Happy training.